Hello everybody, this is Jason Napalm, and I'm here to do a video with the question: does the prosperity gospel work in persecuted countries? Does the prosperity gospel and the teaching thereof work in persecuted countries? Now, when I speak of persecuted countries, there's over 50 countries in the world that are suffering extreme persecution. As Christians living in the West and living in America, UK, some parts of Europe, persecution isn't a deal to us. It's not a major issue to us. Persecution that we may suffer is simply people making fun of us, belittling our faith, belittling the fact that we're Christians, and just general mocking us. Okay? We don't suffer being driven out of our houses. We don't suffer shortage of food and clothing and shelter due to persecution. I understand that some Christians do lack food, do lack clothing and lack a decent place to stay in our countries as well, due to a number of reasons, and mainly poverty. So I'm not saying that poverty doesn't exist in our countries, because it does. But it's not due to persecution, it's due to the benefit system, being ill, sickness, getting into debt, paying for medical bills in America especially, and homelessness. But that's to one side, okay? That's not caused in our life by us being Christians, okay? So in America, in Europe, and some of the countries like that, in Australia and etc., the so-called developed countries and non-third world countries, we don't suffer them issues due to our faith, okay? Whereas in places like Syria, like I've got in the background here, Syria, Pakistan, Sudan, North Korea, and some of the Middle Eastern countries, and you know, there's over 50 countries. Open Doors, which is a Christian organisation that highlights the persecuted church, and my family and I support financially, and we support them through prayer as well. And I've also done a video to promote their work as well. They explain how many countries are being persecuted. They go into great detail and bring prayer points up. As you may have noticed on my Facebook, you'll see me sharing posts of things that happen in the Middle East and in the persecuted countries. Anyway, so I was part of the prosperity gospel movement up until about maybe 10, 12 years ago. I didn't believe in all of it. I didn't go along with all of it. I didn't believe that God wanted me mega rich and to have cars and aeroplanes and mansions and, you know, swimming pools and everything. I believed certain aspects of it because it was appealing. It was mainly the aspects of having power, having a say in your life, having control in your life, being able to change your circumstances through the words that you speak, through positive confession, through quoting verses from the Bible and so forth. The aspects of the prosperity gospel to me wasn't the money. That wasn't what was interesting to me. It was more of the power side of it, and becoming someone powerful. Before I became a Christian, I went through a number of experiences, and I was out of control. I lost control in my life. We all lose control in our life at different times. Things beyond our control, such as the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, illness, sickness coming into our life, and we're thinking, I did not want that in my life, and yet here it is. And so the prosperity gospel to me gave me an answer to be able to just tell it to go, just to speak it away, confess it away. Now I realise the sunshine's coming in a bit here, so I'm turning a bit white. So I'm just going to just move the curtain. There we go. That's it, you can see me now. So that was the appeal to me. when I'm talking about prosperity gospel, I'm talking about teachers such as Benny Hinn, Kenneth Copeland, Joyce Meyer, etc., etc. What appealed to me was the building up of the self-confidence, being worth something, being something, all of which I hadn't experienced in my life. I felt I was a loser, I felt I was nothing, I was of no use to anybody. And suddenly to hear that I was special in God's eyes and that God had a special plan for me and that he was going to use me in amazing ways and all the rest of it, that really did. That was very exciting, very motivating. Now I don't want to go into too much of my story on that side, I'll do it on another video, but as this video I had to just tell you that a little bit because some people speak about the prosperity gospel and they were never in it. They never experienced being part of it, so they can't speak from experience, whereas I can speak from experience. Over 20 years of being involved to some degree in that kind of teaching. So when I come across things like the work of Open Doors in these countries that are suffering persecution, suddenly I'm faced with a question. Now, the prosperity gospel teaches that you should not touch God's anointed, okay, and do them no harm. Now, what does that mean? What it means for the prosperity gospel is that if you're a prophet or an apostle, or any of the fivefold ministry, that people should not be touching you, okay? Now, the interesting thing is that that warning is often given to other Christians. So if I was a prophet in the prosperity gospel and someone was coming against my ministry, I would say, touch not mine anointed and do my prophets no harm, otherwise bad things could happen to you. Now I may not say it, but I'm certainly insinuating it. It's a psychological thing. It's unspoken. And I saw that through a Kenneth Copeland tape called The Prophet's Reward. And sometimes even not so subtly, he did mention basically that as an anointed of God and as a prophet, you don't mess with his ministry, otherwise things won't go so well. Okay. Then he used William Branham as an example of people who apparently come against his ministry and got sick and ill and suffered for it. And I'm thinking, would God really empower one of his own people to make his other people sick and fall into judgment for speaking against them? And we don't see any record of that in the New Testament. We only see records of unbelievers, such as Simon the sorcerer, where Peter said to him in the book of Acts, your money perish with you, and so forth. And then we see King Herod, I think it was King Herod, or one of the kings, that gave a speech and didn't give glory to God, previously killing James, one of the disciples, and he was eaten up of worms. So we see that God's judgment can fall upon people, but it's not. God does not bring judgment on another Christian through another Christian. Okay, that's really messed up. So you've got people quoting from the Old Testament, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And then these people take this and, assuming that they're in the ministry of the prophet or apostle or fivefold ministry, they then use that as a threat for people who come against their ministries, who question them, and even some people that are a bit nasty and a bit sarcastic, okay, about their ministry. Now, where is this happening in these persecuted countries? Why are there not whole governments falling into the judgment of God from the Christians that are being stoned to death, crucified, shot, killed, tortured, and stuff that I just cannot bring myself to say because it's so horrible? Aren't they God's anointed? We're all God's anointed, okay? And so we're all chosen by God. So why do these people, our brothers and sisters in these persecuted countries, why is God not protecting them? Okay? Why is it that God is said to protect people in the American Christianity and the European Western Christianity, and that you can claim your protection, you can claim your healing, you can claim your financial blessing? Well, these people barely eating anything. Sometimes they haven't got anywhere to live. They can't even meet in public. They can't have their worship services and clap their hands and sing openly. They get put to death. So where is the prosperity gospel? Where is this victory, this gospel of victory working now? Okay, where is it working? If it works for one, it works for all. And some people might come up with, oh well, maybe they're not putting the principles into action. And I would say, are you kidding me? So you're telling me, yeah, that God will not protect me, God will not heal me, God will not take care of me unless I meet a quota of the right confessions, the right prayers, the lifestyle, and the right, and you make sure there's no unconfessed sin, etc., etc. You know, anyone who's been into the prosperity movement, word of faith movement, etc., any of you will know what the rules are. Okay, they're not rules, but they are rules really, because you have to go through a checklist. Why am I not healed? Is it because there's unconfessed sin? Is it because my faith isn't up to scratch? You know, when people say you haven't got enough faith, the verse that comes to my mind is that Jesus said, unless you have faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, you should be able to say to a sycamore tree, be you uprooted and cast into the sea. Okay, the grain of a mustard seed. Jesus is basically saying, even if you've got just a little grain, I mean, you'd have to have literally no faith to get no results. And every single person, every single Christian, the Bible says that it's been given, in Romans, it says that we have all been given a measure of faith. So that measure of faith has got to be the size of a grain of mustard seed, surely. You know, I believe that God has given us that much, so that He can then say, all we have to have is faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed. And guess what? That's what I've given you. I've given you at least that. So therefore, you can have faith in me, and you can believe that I'll take, you know, that I'll be with you in this situation, and so forth. Okay. So what we see, where we see the prosperity gospel in America, Europe, and etc., we see people getting rich. We see people. I don't know one person who's never been ill, never been sick in their entire life, whether they're preachers of divine healing or not. And most preachers of divine healing have died of illness or sickness, you know, or disease or something. They're giving out promises that they can't even, that not even manifesting for themselves. Yet in these countries, why are they not confessing their healing? Why are they not confessing their divine protection? Why is there not why are Christians still being killed and being put in prison unfairly and being mistreated? What we see here in the persecuted countries totally agrees 100% with the New Testament and with the account of the early church, where they're being persecuted, driven from city to city, beaten, whipped. Paul the Apostle, beaten, whipped. Well, where was his divine protection in those times of getting beaten up and everything? Yet we're taught, yet some people are taught, some people, not me anymore, but are taught, oh, well, you know, nothing can touch you. God will protect you. He'll protect you from people hitting you, hurting you, stealing from you, etc., etc., etc. Well, apparently not in these countries. Okay? Apparently not in the life of Paul. And you might say, yeah, but God did protect Paul in this situation, that situation, when the snake bit him. Yeah, it's true. But what about all the other beatings he took? And then what was the person going to do? Say, oh, well, Paul's faith wasn't big enough. His faith wasn't strong enough. He didn't have enough faith. He might have had unconfessed sin. Come on. You know, if the apostles themselves saw people, some healed and some not, if the apostles themselves suffered poverty at times, nakedness, the sword, as Paul goes through, and, you know, times of being ill themselves, then what chance have we got? You would have to come to the conclusion, if you believe in the prosperity gospel and so forth, that the apostles were probably the worst example of Christians, because it wasn't working for them. They didn't have their big houses, they didn't have all the money, they didn't have the so-called divine protection in certain situations. And you may say, yeah, but God sets Paul and Silas free from the prison. Yeah, he did. But again, I'm saying, what about the other times? Is it if you confess that God is protecting you every day, then of necessity he must protect you every day. Then why didn't Paul get protected every day in every circumstance, and all the other apostles as well? Okay? No, he didn't. I'm not saying that don't believe God can protect you, because my daily prayer life will be, Lord, please take care of us, protect us, and give us today our daily bread. You know, things like that. That's what I will pray, and that's what these brothers and sisters will pray as well. We do not see Kenneth Copeland, we do not see Benny Hinn, Joyce Meyer, Creflo Dollar, Joe Osteen, and a host of other prosperity preachers going into these places without guards, without significant protection, maybe in bulletproof vests, and certainly not staying there. Certainly not saying, do you know something? I've done all I can in America, I've proved my point, I've been successful in America, I've been successful in Europe, and now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to a place where none of that is apparently possible, and prove my teaching works wherever I go. So why are these guys and girls not going into Sudan? Why they're not going to certain places in Nigeria? I do realise that in Nigeria and some of the African countries there is prosperity gospel preachers there, and unfortunately the preachers are getting rich off the congregation, because they say to the congregation, if you give and if you sow and etc., then you will receive this, that and the other, and in the meantime the congregation is still as poor as ever, and the preacher at the front says, see, the gospel, prosperity gospel does work, look at my new car, look at my new house, look at my nice clothes, and the congregation going, oh yeah, it works. And you're thinking, it doesn't work, you've just put money in this guy's pocket. That's why he's got the nice clothes, that's why he's got the car and the house and everything, because you've paid for it. That isn't the blessing of God, that's your foolishness. That's him making a mug of you, taking advantage of you, and making you, and it's quite ridiculous when you think about it. It's just like bewildering when you see thousands upon thousands of people who are just swallowing it all, just like sucking all this up, and like, oh yeah, it works. So, does the prosperity gospel work in the persecuted countries? I don't see any evidence of it. Do we see any similarity between the church, not all churches, okay, but the church in general in America, Europe, and developed countries? Do we see similarity there between that and the New Testament church? We don't. I don't. When I go to my church on a Sunday, I'm in the safety of the church. We sing nice songs, we have a nice time, cup of tea, and catch up with each other, a few laughs. Then we're off back home to our roast dinner, Sunday dinner or whatever, and then just sit in the sunshine, just thanking God for a lovely day. You know, that is basically our Christianity. We go out during the week, we might have the odd snide remark, we might, this, that and the other, we get tested by sickness and disease like everybody does. We face tragedy in our life, trouble, tests, trials, temptations, all that. But other than that, we don't experience New Testament Christianity. Not in our countries. If you want to experience New Testament Christianity, biblical Christianity, you need to go to the over 50 countries in the world that are actually experiencing the persecution, the torture, the killing. But on a positive note, there are more people getting saved, and really getting saved for the right reasons in these persecuted countries, where they're seeing their families rejecting them, their families giving them up to the authorities, their families are beating them in the marketplace and rejecting them. And yet we see some people looking at that and going, I want to become a Christian. And you sort of think, are you kidding me? You've actually seen this Christian getting beaten up and put in prison and tortured, and then you say, that's what I want. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing in disbelief. You know, it's a lot of disbelief laugh. Like, what the? Anyway. But then we see people becoming Christians in our countries because, in general, life is comfortable anyway. You know, they don't. What is it? There's not a great deal to give up. When you become a Christian in our countries, we're not facing death sentence. We're just facing a bit of misunderstanding from the family, a bit of inconvenience, a bit of discomfort, but certainly not what these people face. So that's my question. Does the prosperity gospel work? No, it doesn't. Does touch not mine anointing, do my prophets no harm work? Apparently not. Does most of the teaching of the prosperity gospel work in the persecuted countries? No. Then how can it be true? The gospel, however, is true or not. The gospel will work not just in one place. It's not environmentally friendly. It doesn't just bloom and blossom in the right environment. It will work everywhere. Okay? If the gospel that we're preaching is true, it will work anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you go to Sudan, Pakistan, Iraq, or you go to Australia, or America, England. You should see the same results everywhere if it's the same. My Christianity, I haven't got loads of money. Yeah, I've got a car, but it's a disability car. That's why I've got a car. I've got a house, you know, but I don't even own it. I'm renting it. Does that bother me? No, it doesn't. Because I'm not going to be staying here for long, you know. We're all going to be going to heaven at some point. So what's the point in having, like, oil fields and aeroplanes and cars and swimming pools and all the rest of it? You know, it's all, you know, it's all going to be given to the hands of the unbelievers, basically, the end of it. So it's going to fall into their hands. Anyway, if you found this video interesting, and you want perhaps me to talk about any other subjects, then just leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you've got any disagreements with what I say, then it's fine, you know. Leave it in the comments, I will get back to you. We can talk politely. If I get enough comments or enough views that are raise significant questions, then I will do another video and maybe address what the questions are. Anyway, God bless you. Thanks for watching. Remember our persecuted brethren across the world, okay? And do some research. Go to Open Doors on Google. Just type in Open Doors, and then that will take you to the Christian Persecution Organisation, okay? Go there, learn, find out for yourself. Stop being blinded by your American Christianity, by European, British Christianity, and start looking a bit further than the end of your nose. You know, to be blunt about it. Educate yourself. Find out what's really going on in the world and find out if, you know, prosperity gospel is working in us. God bless you all. Have a great day. In Jesus' mighty name. Bye-bye.